What's up, Tailgaters? My name is Tailgate Nate. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm back from vacation, so you're not going to see any more pre-recorded videos. This is going to be more up-to-date information for you guys. And while I was on vacation, hey, you guys absolutely were smashing that subscribe button. We're really close to 200 subscribers. If you guys could get it there, that would be awesome. Continue to hit that subscribe button. You can leave a like on this video. It just helps get the video out to as many people as possible. It's all I ask. It takes 2 seconds. I appreciate your feedback down in the comment section below. You can tell me your thoughts on what you think the Hawkeyes are going to do this year as well. Also share the video because, hey, that helps support and grow the channel as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes in the 2021 season. Iowa, this is going to be another solid team this year. Looking back at what happened last year, well, they didn't start off the season too good, did they? The shortened Big Ten season didn't start off too well, but they built a lot of momentum and were playing like one of the best teams in college football in my mind. Hey, as crazy as it might sound, if Iowa wouldn't have dropped those first 2 games, mind you, they lost those first 2 games, I believe, by a combined 2 or 3 points, something real low and crazy like that, Iowa probably could have been vying for a spot in the playoff and would have made it to the Big Ten championship game. Just shows you how much momentum Iowa is building into this year. And could they get back there this year? Unlikely, but yeah, it's a possibility. We'll have to get through a pretty interesting schedule that we'll look at here in a little bit, but we got to look at some talent that is leaving this Iowa program. And a lot of you guys seem to be confused. Hey, to me, as a player that leaves a team or gets drafted in that year's NFL draft or whatever have you, hey, that's a loss this year. I know that was a big point of concern in my LSU video, but here are players leaving Iowa this year. Mekhi Sargent, a huge piece in the running game, gone. And that's going to leave Tyler Goodson to step up. Talk about Tyler Goodson here in a little bit. But Sargent was a real good running back. Again, he was kind of a 1A, 1B, but I would consider Sargent the better running back than Goodson in my mind. And definitely, in my opinion, the slightly better pass catcher, at least in my opinion. Might not be what the stats show, but I found his pass catching abilities to be really useful for this Iowa team. And speaking of pass catching abilities, you got to look at Brandon Smith. A huge loss there at wide receiver. Tight end Sean Bayer, not a real significant loss, but gone nonetheless. In my opinion, though, that biggest loss on offense is going to be Amir Smith Marset. Not just a playmaker on the offensive end, but on the special teams end as well. Was absolutely a fantastic playmaker when he played well. Consistency was a little bit of an issue with Amir Smith Marset, but gone off the team nonetheless. And when I talked about Iowa in the past, in other team videos that Iowa happens to be on their schedule, I say, hey, a team's going to struggle on the offensive and defensive line. Iowa's going to be one of those teams that could struggle this year. And again, if the team struggles, it's just how the sport of football works. It's the offensive and defensive lines. Besides the quarterback, arguably the 2 most important positions on the field. Arguably, don't fight me about that. But the offensive line, hey, you lose 3 guys off that offensive line, 2 guys off the defensive line. The most notable name out there is Chauncey Golston. Huge loss on the defensive line. You also have Nick Neiman gone off the linebacking group as well. But some huge losses there on the offensive and defensive line. You're going to lose a lot of experience and a lot of good playmaking abilities on both of those lines. So that's going to be some spots Iowa's going to have to fill. But hey, it is not about what you lost. It's about what you have, right? As the old saying goes. Well, here are some players returning. Young quarterback Spencer Petras. Petrus, you can say however you want. I say Petrus. I've heard it be pronounced Petrus. Again, don't fight me about that. I've heard it pronounced both ways. Not wrong. Spencer Petras, a good young, but in my mind, still developing quarterback. If he really gets going, I think this year could be his breakout. Now, last year, I was more impressed with Spencer Petras just because my expectations for him weren't that high in the first place. But this year could be a real solid year for him, and he's already got some good weapons. Of course, you lose you lose Brandon Smith and Amir Smith Marset. But you still have Nico Reganey and Tyrone Tracy out there catching passes for you. And Tyler Goodson should provide a nice lift to the running game. Should be that number 1 back, at least is going to be right now, in my opinion. You got some offensive linemen coming back. They're down there. A name to watch on defense for Iowa this year, in my mind, is Zach Van Valkenberg. Could be a coming out party for him this year. Iowa's got a lot of players like that. He, in my opinion, is their best defensive lineman and a future NFL draft pick at that, possibly. He's the name to watch on that defense. You can also watch out for Seth Benson, Jack Corner, and Riley Moss. guys out there that are phenomenal in the defensive back seven. Here's a first look at the Iowa Hawkeyes schedule. Sorry, don't know what happened with the imaging there. If that happened on you guys, I'm sorry. But all there now. Hey, they went 6-2 in 2020 again, dropped those first 2 games, won 6 straight, ended up being second in the Big Ten West. But their bowl game against Missouri, the Music City Bowl, was inevitably canceled due to COVID concerns. Hey, again, there's their schedule, talking about some games more than others. They're more interesting matchups to me. If it gets highlighted in green, it's a win. If the date gets highlighted in red, it's a loss. So without further ado, let's talk about Iowa in 2021. You might see a similar story. Remember I said they dropped their first 2 games last year? Yeah, keep that in mind. We might be looking at some deja vu if you're Iowa Hawkeye fans. A home game against the Indiana Hoosiers, and this is going to be a tough game. Never count out Kirk Ferentz at home, no matter how good or bad Iowa is. In my mind, Indiana is a better team than Iowa as of right now. I think they've got the better offense. They've got the better defense. They've got more holes filled. Indiana dove into the transfer portal to get big needs. In my mind, the defensive line was a huge need. Hey, they went out and they got Ryder Anderson from Ole Miss. Huge pickup for them. But in my mind, the biggest pickup in the transfer portal was Stephen Carr over from USC to replace Stevie Scott. And they have some nice pass catchers out there already. Miles Marshall, Ty Freifogel, Peyton Hendershot. I think this is going to be a loss for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So, hey, you dropped their first game of the year. Again, I still think they're going to struggle to find spots for offensive line, defensive line. I think Indiana should win this game by maybe 7 points more. Iowa is definitely going to keep this one close, but I see Indiana pulling out this win. And then a road game against the Iowa State Cyclones. And people who've watched this channel know how high I am on the Iowa State Cyclones. I have them going 11-1, telling on what's going to flash up on your screen here in a little bit. You know what? I'll just flash it up now. I do have the Hawkeyes losing this game. This is probably going to be the highest stakes Cy-Hawk Trophy battle in history. Both teams should be ranked in the top 25. Well, Iowa might not be if they end up losing to Indiana, but both have the potential to be ranked in the top 25. Both are relatively in the mix for playoff conversation. I'd argue Iowa State more than Iowa, but this is still going to be, a phenomenal game to watch. I just think Iowa State's got the better pieces. They got a much better offense. Brock Purdy, Breece Hall, Charlie Kohler, Chase Allen, Aiden Hutchinson, some other guys out there as well, and a much improved defense, starring reigning Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year Mike Rose at the linebacking position, along with other players as well. I have Iowa State winning the game. But Iowa should get back on track. They got a home game against Kent State. Dustin Crum is a real good quarterback. They got some good pass catchers and some good defensive talent. But I think Iowa's going to be able to pull out this win pretty easily here. And then I think they're going to get another easy win against Colorado State. Losing Patrick O'Brien, losing some offensive weapons, some defensive weapons, and some real good ones at that. Colorado State, I don't think, is going to be much of an impressive team this year. I have Iowa winning and getting back to the 500 mark. And now they're going to get into a full slate of Big Ten play. Road game against Maryland. We know Maryland is going to score points this year with Tolia at the helm of that offense. A real good quarterback. Maryland is going to score a lot of points this year. If you remember back to 2019, I think they had like 140 plus points in their first 2 games. And I think that's going to be reminiscent of the offense we're going to see this year. Now, it might not be that crazy number, but Maryland's still going to have a real good offense this year. And I think a little bit of an improved defense as well. Definitely could end up being a shootout type game. And Maryland's going to pull off an upset against one of the top rated teams in the Big Ten. They're going to pull off an upset against probably not Ohio State, but against maybe an Indiana or a Penn State, or they don't play Wisconsin, or maybe even a Michigan. They have a chance to do that as well. Going to be a tricky game for the Hawkeyes to win, but I do have them pulling this one out. I think Iowa's just all around the better team, especially on that defensive end. I think that's what's going to get Iowa the win here in this one. I think their defensive line has started to figure some things out more so than the offensive line, and Iowa's going to get the ball rolling, win this game. Iowa has the potential to just keep chugging along here. A home game against the Penn State Nittany Lions in Kinnick. in my mind, if this game is under the lights, this is going to be one of the best games could be one of the best games of the college football season. I'm not going to say is or is going to be, but could be one of the best games of the college football season, or one that most people goes right over their heads because, well, in terms of the playoff conversation, it might not matter a whole lot. But both of these teams should be real decent. Penn State, of course, looking to rebound after a disappointing year last year, and I think they're going to do it, but this is going to be a hard one for the Nittany Lions to win. Some young talent out there at wide receiver for the Nittany Lions, some experienced guys coming back in the secondary for Iowa. The Lions are going to tell a lot of story in this game as well. Quarterback play is going to, this is just a head-to-head matchup. On paper, it probably looks like Penn State's the favorite, but I'm going to give this one to the Hawkeyes here. I just feel like Iowa going to come into this game, especially if it's under the lights. Could be the biggest game played in Kinnick Stadium in 2 years. Of course, you have that Indiana game there as well. This atmosphere is going to be rocking. I think it's going to be hard for Penn State to get communication off. There's also that issue of, well, who's the running back for Penn State? Well, they have a lot of guys there, so they could be doing like a 1A, 1B, 1C type thing over there at Penn State. Probably more like a 1A, 1B, or just a 1 period. Penn State usually has some good backs. I think the defense is going to tell the story in this game. I think whichever defense plays better is going to win this game. Could see Penn State winning it, absolutely, but I'm going to go ahead and pick the Hawkeyes here in the preseason. A home game for a home game against the Purdue Boilermakers. They got some nice players. Xander Horvath, I believe, is coming back. Also, they have David Bell, All-American wide receiver, or at least all-team Big Ten. But I just have the Hawkeyes winning. I don't think Purdue's going to gel that well this year. I do have the Hawkeyes beating them. And this is the perfect place for a bye week. The week before what could be the most important game in the Big Ten West this year. Iowa against Wisconsin. To me, these are the two best teams in the Big Ten West. Not maybe by far, but definitely the best two teams in the Big Ten West. If both teams come into this game with an undefeated record in Big Ten play, this could be the game that decides the Big Ten West. Badger fans don't hate me, but if you've watched my Wisconsin video, you already know I do have Iowa winning this game. On paper, it looks like a mismatch. Wisconsin's lines are just going to be better, at least right out of the gate. But I think given over time, Iowa's going to come out swinging. I think Iowa's going to have a real good game. I think Petrus might even throw for 300 yards against this Wisconsin defense. Usually Wisconsin has a really good defense. A lot of people are high on Wisconsin this year. Hey, I even have them at a double-digit win total this year. But this is one of the losses I have for Wisconsin. I'm picking the Hawkeyes to beat the Badgers. And then a road game against Northwestern. Hey, Northwestern's still going to be a solid team this year. I think a lot of people are overlooking Northwestern. Are they going to be as good as they were last year? Absolutely not. Just losing a lot of talent, especially quarterback Peyton Ramsey. Some really nice pass catchers as well. Both of their running backs that were 1A, 1B to start the year, both transferred out. This is going to be a different Northwestern team this year, but Pat Fitzgerald is an excellent head coach. Really knows what he's doing. I think Northwestern's going to pull off what's, in my mind, is going to be considered an upset here. I think Iowa, after just pulling off an upset, that's going to be a hard-fought game. Then they're going to go play another really tough road game. I think Iowa drops that one to bring their total to 6-3. But they will improve to 7-3 after a win against Minnesota. Hey, this is an underrated team coming into this year. It was a really young defense last year after a really good 2019 campaign. It's going to be a much more experienced defense. You have Tanner Morgan back at quarterback. We all know what he can do if he's playing well. Chris Altman-Bell should be good this year. Other pass catchers as well. And Mo Ibrahim, in my mind, is one of the best backs in the entire country. Minnesota will make it tough, but the home field advantage for Iowa, I think, will be able to help the Hawkeyes squeak this one out. And then a home game against Illinois. And I think people are overlooking Illinois this year. With Brett Bielema, head coach, you know they're going to play some smash mouth football. They're going to run the ball a lot. And, I mean, it seems to work out with Epstein back there, losing Josh Imatorbhebhe, and then his brother transferring out. Still going to have Brandon Peters, it looks like, as that quarterback. But who's out there catching passes? That's the big question to me. And I don't think that defense is going to be too great. Maybe give Illinois a couple of years, they could be back into it. But I'm picking the Hawkeyes to beat the Fighting Illini. And now a road game against the Cornhuskers. Hey, always played on a Friday. This, in my opinion, is the best team that Scott Frost has had since he's been at Nebraska. And this is going to be yet another hard game for Iowa to win. Might not be able to tell, but I do have this as a loss for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Yes, that is highlighted in red. Props to you if you can see the difference in shades there. I really can't, but I do have the Cornhuskers just edging it out. I think the Cornhuskers this year, well, they're going to have an up and down season. Yes, a bowl team, very close to it, might just be over the hump. But this is the best team that Nebraska has had in the past 5 years, in my opinion. This is going to be a solid team. They got a lot of transfers coming in. Yes, a lot of transfers coming out, but Adrian Martinez is back. Lots of guys on the defense are coming back. I think the Cornhuskers finally get you, Hawkeye fans, and you saw a little flash of it earlier, so I'll throw it up on screen now. But hey, 4 games highlighted in red. That means the Hawkeyes are going 8-4 in 2021. That is my prediction. The best I could see them going is 10-2. I don't think they're going to win that Iowa State game, although I think they can keep it close. And then just looking at their other slated games, road games against Maryland, Wisconsin, Nebraska, Northwestern, and then tricky home games against Penn State and Indiana. I see 10-2 being that best case scenario, with 6-6 being the worst case scenario. Hey, that's going to do it for the Iowa Hawkeyes preview prediction for the 2021 season. Leave a like on this video if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button. We're really close to 200. You can leave comments down below. And hey, tomorrow we're going to be looking at the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Ooh, are they a dark horse in the Big 12? You'll find out my thoughts tomorrow. Remember to play hard but tailgate harder. Again, Oklahoma State up tomorrow. Goodbye.